Hey, so this is a video that I'm going to create for assignment 2 in project management called Initiation and Planning. And I hope to go through all of the steps here so that it will help you create your own assignment. Right, so just to go through the purpose of this, you're going to initiate and plan a project in the country you selected from assignment 1. If you didn't do assignment 1, I'll need you to get in touch with me about what country you're going to select. You can work in groups. Right, so if you're already in a group, you can stay within that group. If you're by yourself, you can stay by yourself. Right, the purpose is to make these assignments continuing so that you create a project by the end of this course. In this project or in this assignment, you're going to be the project manager. Right, so you're going to be facilitating or creating some documentation as part of this assignment. So in assignment 2, you're going to need the following documents. Right? You're going to need a title page, a simulated project, project charter, a work breakdown structure or WBS, a RACI matrix, and then any references that you have. Okay, so the first thing I would do, I have a document that I'm starting for you guys. I've started for you guys. This is called, so this is assignment 2 that I've made. I will upload this when I'm done. It's called assignment 2_Canada. Right, so the proposal, again, you're going to want to put your country as in the title. This assignment 2, prepare for me, and then this is the instructor copy, so this is my own, but it's a way that you guys can follow along. So if we go to our instructions, once we have our title page, next is the simulated project. All right, so the simulated project, it says see information below. This is our simulated project. So you will need to create a project for this assignment. Here is how to create a project. You're going to open ChatGPT and you're going to enter in the prompt, create a building project in blank, which includes stakeholder list, schedule, project proposal, location, high-level requirements, budget, and schedule with milestones. So all of this will be copied into ChatGPT, and then we're going to copy that data out of that into a new, or into the file that you've already created. So I'll show you how to do that. So if you haven't made an account, please do so in ChatGPT. If you're having problems with it, just let me know. It's pretty straightforward to do. So in the prompt, I've copied in create a building project. The example I have is Canada, but you will change it into whatever country you have. And then all the text that you put in, you're going to hit submit. And then it's going to create something that looks like this. Okay, so this is the file that it created for me for Canada. And hopefully it will do something similar to you as well. Something to note, if you don't like the way it did, you can hit regenerate and it will regenerate a new file. So maybe you're not interested in the building, maybe that you think, whatever, it can do something better. You can hit regenerate and it'll do something differently. However, this one works for what I want it to do, so I'm going to copy it. There's a little copy right here. We're going to copy that and put it into the Word file with your title page. So I'll get that step ready. So here I'm back in my assignment 2, and I come down here. This is my simulated project, and this I have example Canada, right? For you guys, you can just have simulated project underscore, bold, just make sure it's clear to me where it is. And then I've pasted in the text, all right? And I've made sure that when I paste it in, it's to the same format that is my my whole document, all right? So I've cleaned it up just a little bit, but it reads pretty easily all the way through. It will add a few pages because it's well spaced out as you go down through. Okay, but I want to see all of this. So I want this whole thing pasted in. And so you will copy this exactly from ChatGPT and paste it right in. Right now we don't have to do anything with it, so you can just leave it for now until we move to the next step. So the next step is developing the project charter. All right, so I've talked about this in class, what a project charter is. It's kind of our initial kickoff document. So the project charter is going to have these specific bullets. All right, the identification, the project purpose, the requirements, the constraints, the risks, the summary of milestones, budget summaries, and stakeholders. So what I would do is I would select all of this, You can right click if you'd like, and we can copy it, okay? And we can put that into the document that you just made for assignment 2 onto a new page. So this is what it would look like, right? I have my project charter, bolded, underlined. Now I have the list of things that I need to do. Now, some of these, all right, of this stuff is already defined by you from ChatGPT. So this is something that we can already use what we have in this file and start pasting some of these things in, all right? Some of the stuff we may have to go out and get or create, but a lot of this is already defined for us. And so we don't need to go out and find any more. So in this step, what I would do is I would go back to your ChatGPT file that you've copied in, and I would start taking out the information and pasting it in here. So I'm going to do that now. So I filled out the identification phase. So I've taken away the bullets and I've listed these out. So the title of this is really a modern office complex, and it's going to be located in Toronto, Canada. You might have a different name for yours, and that's okay. It may have a nice name, you know, the new World Trade Center or something like that. That's okay as your title. The working document, today is the 29th of September. Ideally, you can put this, the due date for when this is due is fine to put it as the starting date. The project sponsor, in my case, there's a few different options for mine, but the XYZ Developments is what ChatGPT has created as my overall owner. But there's also investors as well, which will likely be project sponsors. So I have it as both, so I've listed them both here. Underneath the project manager, right, I'm going to list myself. You will list yourself or your group's name, or both you and your group member can go here. So the next piece is the project purpose. Okay, so the project purpose should be listed within your document. One of the reasons I let ChatGPT choose the purpose is that this building is fictitious. So the reason why it's being made, you would have to create up that purpose yourself. So I let the AI do that for you. Again, you can edit it if you want, if you feel like there is a purpose there. But for all intents and purposes, ChatGPT has already created that for you. So I'm going to go get that and paste it right here. So this is the project purpose. So to construct a state-of-the-art office complex in downtown Toronto that meets the growing demand for premium office spaces, fostering business growth and enhancing the city's skyline. All right. Something that you guys will have to do, especially if you're taking something from something like AI or ChatGPT, is you have to read it and make sure that it's answering what I'm asking. So state the objectives of the project clearly and ensure they contain a measure of how to assess whether they have been achieved. So state-of-the-art office complex, okay, I think that that's something that is, it's an objective, all right? So state-of-the-art means like using current construction techniques and likely staying on very environmentally friendly. And again, I could construct a state-of-the-art office complex that focuses on, or that will be constructed using the latest environmental construction techniques. All right, just something to add to it in downtown Toronto that meets the growing demand for premium office spaces. Okay, that's not bad. Fostering business growth and enhancing the city's skyline. So that's pretty good, you know, for a project purpose. Again, it's not supposed to be, you don't have to use very concrete things, but it should have an overall meaning to what the project is going to be about, right? And then I'm just going to delete off this bullet. So the next piece here is thinking about the requirements. So specify the scope of the project by identifying requirements of the parties involved. Again, some of this has already been developed, so I'm going to go grab it and pull it down below. So the way I've worded the ChatGPT question for it, prompt, I guess, is that it will include some high-level requirements. Okay, so for mine, it gave me 7 targets. Okay, now this again is something that you as the student, the engineer has to think about, is this all useful to what I want it to do? All right, so what I would consider doing first is reading your project purpose, understanding what it is that you're doing, and making sure that any of these bullets should be mentioned up above. So let's look at the first one. So architectural design and planning is a first high-level requirement. So engage a renowned architect firm for innovative and sustainable design. Okay. Ensure compliance with local zoning laws and environmental regulations. All right. So architectural design and planning, that is a very good requirement to meet. Is it mentioned above? State-of-the-art office complex would really be the something that's new. I would say that is covered. The architectural design and planning is a key step in this. The next step is construct and development. Construct a 20-story office building. So this is great. Again, it wants to make a state-of-the-art office complex. It's now saying how big is it? So it's 20 stories, modern amenities, energy efficient systems and green spaces, and also adhere to strict safety standards during construction. So other than this last one, which is, it should always be part of the requirements, the strict safety standards, all these bullets so far are within our project purpose, okay? I'm not going to go through all of them, but again, keep checking to make sure that the wording of your purpose is matching your requirements. The other thing in here is that this is not really clean, like it doesn't look good. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through, I'm going to clean up some of this and I'll show you what that might look like. Okay, so I cleaned this up a little bit, just got rid of some of the extra text, brought this over so it's kind of underneath the bullets. Looks a little bit cleaner. Most of what's here is actually pretty good, what ChatGPT came up with. I know some of you may not have any construction experience, and so really you have to almost trust AI for what it came up with. But I would just say read what's there, make sure some of it makes sense. The old school way would be me going to ask you to find this in a textbook or go to the internet and figure it out. And I would say that you can 100% do that. It does take time to figure this stuff out. But I would say what I'm looking for at this stage is that you're understanding what you're putting into this document. And if you have questions, that's where you can ask me, and I can help really define what it means. Like Target LEED Gold certification. If you didn't know what that means, this would be a great thing to ask me about. If you don't really know what something is, you can remove it, right? So maybe the goal of this isn't to target gold certification. I would say that anything that you leave in here as the project grows, so as we go through these assignments, this document is what is going to move everything forward. So you're going to be basing a lot of your assumptions, a lot of the things on this in future work. So if LEED is in there, when we get in the execution phase and in the final phases, we should be looking for the LEED certification stuff within this project, okay? So just keep that aware, as if you're keeping some of these things in and you're not quite sure, ask me about it, because I will check up on this document as we move forward. It's a really important one. All right, so this is what this looks like for the requirements. So we'll move on to the next stage, which got bumped way down somewhere. I might have got deleted off. Perfect. Okay. I'll have to go grab that. So just give me 1 second. So the text was just hiding, so I just moved it out. That's one thing to watch out for is your formatting, bringing things in and out. Obviously, your text below can get moved around. So the next one is our constraints. So define any and all constraints on the project or those working on the project. This is an important part of the project charter. A constraint is anything that limits the range of solutions or approaches. So again, I would go through what ChatGPT has come up with, but you may need additional constraints. One of the places that will be helpful is in the PowerPoint that I created for initiation, right? There's a proposal at the end which has some good constraints and risks in it. I would check that out. I will work on this and check back just in a second. So here's the list of some of the constraints. So I just started with a sentence. The following are the constraints for this project. Targeting LEED Gold certification will require additional planning to minimize material waste and transportation costs. again, this was one of the things in sustainability. If you're targeting something like LEED, which honestly, ChatGPT, every time I've done one of these, they love to put this stuff in. It's going to require extra planning. If you're not familiar with the process of LEED, it's an energy reduction in not only in the development construction of the project, but in the long lasting of the project as well. So it does require more work. If you're not familiar with it, I could suggest to remove it or just learn a little bit about it and then some of the constraints that are involved with it. The rest of these constraints, I'll let you guys read through them. Some are just very, basic. They would be ones that you would have on any project. Some I went through and just read, what is this project about? What are some of the constraints that I'm going to have issues with? Downtown Toronto is going to be an issue, right? Traffic, congestion, and the same thing within your city is understand the city where it's going to be in or the place that it's going to be in, and think about some of the things that you're going to have issues with. We have environmental laws, regulations. You don't really have to get into like personal things like the architectural firm is going to give up on us for other projects. Like these are, again, high level, not really high level, but constraints that you think will have a real issue in your project. Okay. Some will come from here. And again, there's a PowerPoint up online for initiation. You can grab some of them, those ones too, because that one's pretty good too. Right. But overall, I'd say this meets the overall objective. Something that is important is making sure with communication, so stakeholders, investors must be able to meet at a certain time. I have quarterly, could be, especially if it's investors as well. You just want them to be engaged, right? These are the changes that occur. You might have cost overruns or those sorts of things. So anyways, I'll let you guys read through those. If you have questions, please ask me in class about these, because with constraints, there can be more than I've suggested here, all right? There could be a lot more. All right, so it took some time, but I thought of some risks that I put together here. So I've put these underneath. I'm just going to separate this just to make it look a little cleaner. So we have risks. Here are some of the key construction risks associated with the high-rise buildings in downtown Toronto. It should be high-rise building. So we're talking about our building, or the building that I'm doing as an example. So we have zoning and permitting risks, site constraints, foundation geotechnical risks, structural engineering risks, labor shortage, skilled worker risks, safety risks, environmental risks, neighborhood and community impact. This is a big one. It's going to be downtown. Probably going to make a lot of people angry. So again, as we'll see as we go through these this projects, we may even have to assign somebody in terms of neighborhood relations, making sure that people are being looked after. Finally, utilities and infrastructure risks, so risks of utility outages and service disruptions during construction. This will be a big one if you have a building or some sort of structure in a remote area, right? So if you're not in a big city, this could be an issue. Utilities might not be available. So these are some of the risks. What I would suggest, guys, is, you have access to this. This is mine. Right, you can rewrite some of these. I would say try to find some, you can ask ChatGPT to create some risks for you for your project. But these are some of the ones that I came up with. Hopefully you can either add to these, think about your own project and some of the things that might be considered a risk for your project. So the next section is the milestones. So list all major milestones needed to ensure successful project completion. So the milestone, the milestones should be collected from ChatGPT. So I'll pull those down and put them in here. All right, so I took the milestones from above and I put them in a nice little table. So it's, nice and easy to see. So we have our milestone and the different stages of our project. It has the duration and then the completion. I would say in a downtown Toronto project to do this in 2 years, pretty aggressive. But this is just supposed to be a learning experience, right? If you have some experience in construction, you may even object to what ChatGPT has created. Again, it's just AI. It's only going to be as good as what information we put in it. However, the point of this exercise is just pulling out the milestones, and you should have them above. So it looks something like this. So I should see something like this. You can do it as a table. It just makes everything nice and clean, right? So I'll keep going on building this report here. So the next piece is the budget. So budget summary, provide a summary of the budget for the project. I would change this and say the following is the budget, or the proposed. The following is the proposed budget for the project. All right, and then it lists out total budget, 100 million, construction costs going to be 80%, 80 million design and planning, another 10, so that's 90, legal and regulatory, another 2, so we're up to 92, contingency, right? So if this is things that go wrong or if we have to account for, it's an extra 5, so it's 97 million. Marketing, promotion, 2 million, sustainability initiatives, 1 million, right? So that equals up to 100 million bucks. Again, we're trusting the software. It comes up with something. I would say, I don't know. Honestly, in a Toronto project, this could be realistic. I would say nowadays, I'm not sure, to be honest with you, to do something of this scale. The big thing you're looking for here is, again, all the expenditures add up. But I would say it's reasonably well adapted for the budget. Okay, so this is what this would look like. So last piece of this is the stakeholders. So again, ChatGPT created some. I've put them in a nice little table here. And again, I should recreate this sentence. So it says, provide the key stakeholders and team members by function, name, and role. So the following is the key stakeholders for this project. So XYZ Developments in this case is the project owner. They're also a sponsor. One of the other project sponsors is the investors. The City of Toronto will obviously have some stake in this project. Our architectural firm was selected to be Green Architects. General contractor, project manager would be you and your partner. The neighborhood association, again, utility companies, and the end users, again, could all be stakeholders in this development. So they're all listed out with their title on the left and their name on the right. So it just kind of makes things nice and clean. There isn't really a limit. I would say you have to have at least, say, 5. I would say stakeholders, including you. That's something you can ask for in ChatGPT. You could have a minimum of 5 stakeholders, or these things can go on and on. So this overall is the document. So this is really part 1 of what I've asked for, all right, in the assignment. This is what it looked like. Again, it looks long, right? But we've really just used the information that was given to us, and we've created this project charter to look like so. So I think it looks pretty good. Again, if you have any questions about this, please ask. Better to ask than just copy and not know, and then me kind of ask you on it later. Right? So this is kind of what we come up with. The next part of this, all right, so this is part 1, develop the project charter. The next piece of this is the work breakdown schedule, right? Or work breakdown structure, it's also called. And it's going to look something like this, okay? And I'll show you how to do that next. All right, for the next part of this assignment, you're going to develop the work breakdown structure. My suggestion is doing something like this. The very first title here I have is Modern Office Complex. So this is the project that, again, that ChatGPT created for me, the 20-story tower. This is what the name of it is. Underneath, I'm going to have my 5 phases. All right, initiation, planning, executing, monitor, control, and closeout. The way you would create this is if you just insert a new page into your document. If you come up in here into Smart Art, so it's up here, there's one called Hierarchy, and I just chose the top left one. Once you go in there, it'll create something that looks like this, and then you can just go in and edit it and make it look like something like mine. So again, having a title of whatever your building is, and then underneath we're going to have our 5 phases. Now, one thing that we'll learn about work breakdown structures is that you can take these and make them as detailed as possible. And I would say that when you get into project management, that is something you will likely do. But here in school, I would say that just the exercise is really to make something that looks somewhat good, right? We may miss steps, and that's okay, because this is a fictitious building, all right? I would also say that the document that I gave you, this one, is not bad. So it goes through and it has kind of the list of what you're going to be doing. But you'll see, in the executing stage, we have interior, drywall, electrical, plumbing. It's actually not too bad. One of the phases that is missing is in the not the closeout, sorry. This is one that even I skip sometimes. The monitor and controlling. So that phase is missing. What you can do is a couple things. If you know what your project is, so if it's a building, let's say like an office building like mine, you can try to go find some literature online about, what's included in the initiation phase, planning phase. But I would say a lot of you, it's going to be a mystery on what is needed or required in each phase. So this is, again, something you could use ChatGPT to help you out with. So what you can do is to help you define, where's mine? I don't know where it is, guys. I must have lost it. Just one second. I'll bring it back up. Here we go. So what I did is I asked ChatGPT I put in, you could ask it, what is the construction phases, or what's a part of the construction phases? It actually did pretty well with this prompt. So the construction phases and tasks for a 20-story office building. And I actually should have been a little more specific in this case, as, why do I edit it here? So the construction phases and tasks for a 20-story office building located in Toronto, Canada, right? Okay, so once I do this, it should create something, right? And I'll just stop it here, but what it can go through with each phase, and again, this is where you will need to edit a little bit, because again, I've got a 20-story office building, you might have something else. A lot of this stuff is going to be very consistent. And what I mean is, like, an office building that's going to be built here in Toronto is probably going to be very similar to an office building that's built in Sydney, Australia, right? They're going to do a lot of the same site prep and project planning and design development and budgeting and finances. So a lot of this stuff is going to be the same. So that's why, again, this software is okay at this point. If you get into something that's really like technically, like, this gold LEED standard stuff, that might require more work. Let's even try that. Let's put this in. The construction phase and task for a 20-story office building with gold LEED certification. Located. All right. So we'll be even more specific. Now, here we go. So it includes in the pre-planning, all right? So the pre-design phase, it includes that LEED planning, right? So that's good. I'm glad I put that in, because it includes that. So it has our phases. So we have pre-design phase, we have design phase, construction phase, all right? So the downside is you kind of have to guess a little bit of what this means. So pre-design phase, let's read. So project initiation, all right? So in our phases, this is really what we're looking for. This is the initiation phase. Site selection assessment, legal and regulatory compliance, LEED planning, like all of these things could be an initiation, but as I said, initiation is really the first part. So the initiation is going to be quite small, so maybe just this bit. And then the planning phase is likely going to be all the rest of it. However, site selection in my case, with being in a downtown city, that site selection should really be included in the initiation phase. Okay. What I'm going to do is I'm going to copy this out, and then I will build out the work breakdown structure so you can see an example. So I took the information from what ChatGPT gave me and kind of made an work breakdown structure like this. I would say this is kind of high level. Really, you can really get into detail with these. You'll find examples online. I would say at least go 3 levels for each one. So 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. In the executing phase, there's many elements you can add here, like structural. You can talk about, steel, concrete, testing, all that good stuff. But for some, I know that this is likely going to be an exercise of, some of you're going to exercise your construction brains and go through, and you won't have to think too much about this. You'll be able to put a lot of this stuff in without thinking too much. If you've never done construction, this will be nerve-wracking almost to figure this stuff out. But I would say that you can just use, the stuff that you got from ChatGPT to help develop it. If you want, you can, foundation structural work, you can take and put these in as well. When you're building this, I have this in a layout mode that's not landscaped. If you're landscaped, you can make this a lot bigger. I just have it as a layout. But I would say overall, this is what I'm looking for, something that looks like this. So I can just kind of go through and make sure that you have some understanding at the stages of what the work is going to be entailed. It should look, different than mine. So please don't copy this. Use your own work, especially if you're not LEED certified. You shouldn't be adding LEED services. But this is kind of what I'm looking for the work breakdown structure. So I finished up. I gave this work breakdown structure a title. Look something like this in my report. Again, if you want to landscape, it will look nicer. So you put it on your own page, make it landscaped. Unless it's really, really tiny, like I can scroll in and see this reasonably well. But if it's really tiny, you've gone out and made this really specific, I would put it on new page. All right, the last piece of the assignment is the racing matrix. All right, so I've given you kind of an idea of what this might look like in the project assignment. So this is this is work breakdown structure. This is the racing matrix. You can use the table. It can look something like this. And you're going to put your project participants on the left-hand side. And anyways, we'll go through this on the example. So in the initiation phase, there's really 3 things, okay, that you're going to be looking at. Developing the project charter, identifying the stakeholders, and identifying the project sponsor. So who's responsible, who's accountable, who do you have to inform and consult, okay? So you're going to give each one of these a letter grade as you go through. I'm going to do this first example, and then I'd say for the next one for planning, you guys are more than capable of doing the last piece of this. So I am going to complete this how I would see it, and then that'll be the last piece of this assignment. So this is how I envision the racing matrix for this project. All right, so the R's meaning they have the highest level of engagement. All right, so you're going to be responsible basically means that they are going to be responsible for doing something. Accountable is a level down. So you're basically making them accountable for certain aspects. XYZ developments and the investors are really going to be with the project sponsor and the stakeholders. Those are their 2 main roles throughout this. The developments will have responsibility in the project charter. The investors will have some accountability basically on sign-offs. For some of the key stakeholders, I did put in City of Toronto as consulted because likely they're going to have some major involvement if you're going to be shutting down roads or those sorts of things. So you're going to be at least consulting them. for the stakeholders. These are the people that are going to be invited to these meetings. I gave Green Architects and Building Corp in this case an informed, so they're going to be told some of the people that are going to be at the meetings, all right, they should be informed about who those people are. But for the project charter, ultimately responsibility is going to be from Developments Inc. Accountability will be from the investors. They're going to have input. I wouldn't put the responsibility on them. Really, the XYZ Developments will be looking after this project, as well as you as the project manager. You do not have to put yourself in here, right? This is really about the project. What level do you want these people to be involved? City of Toronto, likely to be accountable. Again, they could be responsible, but it depends. I'm going to give them an A grade. Environmental agency, I'm going to have them consulted because this is the lead certification. Also, it's going to be a city project. They're likely going to want some higher level consultation with this project charter. Again, with Green Architects, they're going to be building this. So I'm going to put them at they're going to be designing this. I'm going to have some accountability in here, right? Especially if the lead certified that these Green Architects can come out and really design the building. The builder, all right, is going to definitely have some consultation, maybe some input about some of the asks that are built into this project charter. Neighborhood association, realistically, they might be informed about the project charter, have some low-level ideas about what's being involved, or some of the constraints that they might be facing. Utility companies as well. Just if this building's going to create a new load onto their utilities, they're likely to be informed about what's going to, being available. It is common though that utility, neighborhood association are cut out, and really the building corp and even the architects might even not get a lot of say in the project charter. They're really more big players in the planning stage. And the end users, so the renters of this, they really don't have any say that's really within this. And so the end users won't have much involvement really in the initiation. They might be consulted a little bit in the planning phase, maybe, but usually it's not until the execution phase that you start informing the end users, especially when availability is going to happen. I hope this was helpful. Again, you're going to do 2 of these. You're going to do one for initiation and planning. All right, so you'll have something very similar to this. Copy and paste that in. Right, and list out the participants. I'm not looking for 100% accuracy here. I'm looking for you to fill it out and think through it. Like, what are the things that are going to be needed throughout this? So again, I hope this was helpful. If you have questions, please ask. We're going on 10 pages, so it is quite a lengthy document, but also remember that a couple of the pages was this pasting in from ChatGPT. All right, thanks for joining me, and I hope you have some questions about this because I'd love to